that she wants to talk to.
Don't touch me!
He manipulates them! You broke your...
Hey guys, welcome Afghan Street's YouTube channel. Toady, our story begins with Catherine, and the film starts with Catherine, a sorrowful mother still hunted by the loss of her eldest son, Nicky, who perished in a car accident 16 years ago. Consumed by grief, Catherine intently neglects her surviving son, Braden, leading to resentment and unhappiness. This emotional distance takes a toll on her marriage, as her husband feels increasingly ignored. Simultaneously, the narrative introduces Walt, a professor, and his student Sherry. In a parallel storyline, Sherry, the weather reporter, engages in a conversation about her studies with Walt, revealing subtle signs of attraction. Meanwhile, a troubled boy named Jordy, who had been silent during his jail time due to car theft, gets into a fight. After serving his sentence, he is released, finding his uneasy relationship with his father, Carl, awaiting him outside. Walt receives a newspaper article detailing Catherine's son's death, a somber memento he holds on to. The following day, Carl instructs Jordy to secure employment within a week before heading to work. Jordy's stepmother, Elise, discloses that Carl's intentions are rooted in Jordy's welfare, despite her marriage to Carl being driven by financial motives rather than affection. Concurrently, Walt pays a visit to his mentally unwell brother, Dennis, who has secluded himself in his apartment for 2 years. Seeking help, Walt confides in psychiatrist Carl about his depression, tracing it back to a fateful night when he had an accident after drinking with Dennis. In a heartbreaking revelation, Walt discloses that a boy named Nicky died in the collision, driven by Nicky's friend. The shock hits Carl when Walt mentions the boy in the basketball jersey was Carl's own son, Jordy. Overwhelmed, Carl informs Walt that their session cannot proceed that day. Meanwhile, Catherine, who used to visit her son's grave daily with flowers, would cry in his room when home alone. Jordy, who had a criminal record, desperately wanted a pizza delivery job. The owner reluctantly hired him despite his past. That same evening, Walt watched the weather report on TV when his wife tried seducing him. Walt refused, fixated on the TV, angering his wife, who then left. One day, Jordy was pleasuring himself when Alessi unexpectedly entered his room and saw. Jordy was startled, and Alessi left, causing him embarrassment. He went to sit in the park where a girl named Melissa joined him. Melissa, a close friend of Jordy's, informs him of Catherine's recent sighting and urges him to initiate a conversation with her. Jordy expresses uncertainty about the potential outcome of such a conversation. Melissa advises him to approach Catherine and extends an invitation to a party that evening. In a parallel scenario, Walt's wife, Abby, departs for her sister's house due to Walt's neglect. The following day, after college, Walt invites Sherry over, and their relationship takes an intimate turn, with Sherry capitalizing on Walt's history of favoring her with high exam grades. One morning, Elise, unclothed and fixing her hair before the mirror, is surprised by Jordy's sudden entrance. Despite her initial inquiry, Jordy seduces her, and they share an intimate moment. Their encounter is nearly interrupted when Carl arrives home, prompting Jordy to hide in the bathroom. Elise smoothly diverts Carl's attention, inviting him to bed and becoming intimate with him. Seizing the opportunity, Jordy slips away. Subsequently, Elise and Jordy continue their intimate encounters. On another day, Melissa visits the shop where Jordy works, questioning his absence from her party. Jordy, making excuses, pleads busyness. As they converse, the shop manager intervenes, instructing Jordy to focus on his work. Melissa arranges to meet Jordy in the evening. After a night out, Melissa drops Jordy off at his house, and it being late, he invites her inside. While conversing, their discussion takes a romantic turn, leading to shared kisses. Unexpectedly, Elise arrives, questioning Melissa's presence. Melissa introduces herself as Jordy's school friend, causing Elise to leave in anger. Following this, Jordy instructs Melissa to go home. Meanwhile, Walt discovers that Dennis used to talk to Sylvie, prompting him to invite her to Dennis's apartment to aid his recovery. Sylvie's presence soothes Dennis, who had not interacted with anyone for 2 years. Witnessing Dennis's improvement brings joy to Walt. Simultaneously, Geordie finds himself increasingly immersed in spending time with Melissa. Troubled by Elise's discomfort, the next day at Geordie's workplace, the manager urges him to work faster. Frustrated with his manager over a prolonged period, Geordie quits his job in a fit of anger. Upon returning home, Elise attempts to discuss Melissa and their relationship, but Geordie refuses to engage and leaves to meet Melissa. That evening, Geordie reflects on Nikki and decides to call Catherine. The following day, Catherine pays Geordie a visit. During their conversation, Geordie confesses that he was also in the stolen car with Nikki and takes responsibility for the idea. They ended up in an accident, unaware that Walt was at fault. Catherine, feeling a sense of relief, returns home and burns Nikki's. Realizing Nikki won't return, Catherine apologizes to her second son, Braden, granting him the freedom to pursue his desires. She plans a vacation for the two of them. Meanwhile, after 2 years of seclusion, Dennis breaks his isolation with a date with Sylvie, stepping out of his apartment. Recognizing his error, Walt seeks to apologize to Catherine, who already knew he caused Nikki's fatal car accident. Catherine, infuriated, physically confronts Walt before leaving with Braden. Simultaneously, Geordie returns home, discussing his relationship with Alice, inadvertently revealing his affair with Elise to Carl. Enraged, Carl attacks Geordie, prompting a physical altercation before Elise intervenes to separate them. Before the confrontation ends, Geordie brutally assaults Carl, leading Elise to rush Carl to the hospital. Dennis and Sylvie find happiness together, as do Walt and Melissa. Catherine discovers solace in Braden. With relationships either repaired or severed, the movie comes to a close.